Hi there. Oh, don't clap for me, I'm not important. I'm Aoife from Eurogamer, and thank you all so much for coming to this developer session at EGX. Now, Lazarus is a free, top-down, action-oriented, roguelike MMO where at the end of every week, the world and everything in it completely resets. I'm not really sure if that's brilliant or a recipe for complete frustration, but luckily here to tell us more is Andrew Smith, Creative Director of Spilt Milk Studios. Give him a hand.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. There's a lot of you. I've got about 129 slides full of GIFs to get through, so I'm going to go at quite a pace so that hopefully we get a meaningful sort of Q&A section at the end. Hope you don't mind. And I guess, eagle-eyed people might spot something on this slide that's not necessarily in our logo, but I'll explain. Spatial OS Studios, you hopefully know us for Tango Fiesta, which was born in this very building about 3 years ago at EGX Rezzed in a game jam sponsored by Eurogamer and Creative Assembly. You might know us from the little free-to-play 10-minute RPG that we made to try and promote it, called Legend of Tango. And more recently, we released, as part of the War Child bundle, a game called Verdant Hue. Everyone should go on Steam and check that out. All the proceeds go to War Child, and we were honored to be asked, as one of many developers contributing a game to that bundle. But we're here to talk about Lazarus. What is Lazarus? Hopefully. So I made that in Windows Movie Maker at about 10:30 last night. The only good quote I could find was "intriguing" from Rock Paper Shotgun, but I'm fine with that. Look, there, that's a Steam key. Every single slide almost has a Steam key for the game throughout the whole presentation. So if you're on Twitch, maybe you can go back a bit or just write them down. Or if you're on here with your phone, you can just go and log in and play the game. There is a beta running this whole weekend, and I'll talk about more of that later. We made an MMO with 4 people because we're basically idiots, and we just don't learn when not to bite off more than we can chew. But who are these idiots? Well, there's me. I'm Andrew. There's other Andrew. Wave Andrew. He's the coder. I should have said I'm the designer. There's another Andrew who's at the front here. He's our audio guy. And there's another Andrew. No, there's not. His name's Steve. Yeah. It's become a bit of a ridiculous joke, but there you go. All of us worked on a little project called Waterways. You might have seen videos and development diaries about it. It means a lot to us because it kind of led very strongly to Lazarus in weird ways, but I'm not here to talk about it. So, why and how? We're going to talk a bit about how later on, but the thing I really want to kind of hammer home is why. Making games is really, really stupidly hard. You probably don't need me to tell you that. I don't know how many people here have tried to make a game, but making a thing playable isn't hard. Making it fun is really hard. Making it sell well is even harder, etc., etc. So you need to think about why you're making a game. You're very privileged if you're able to make a game, and as we are, to be able to be paid to make a game. So I asked kind of Twitter, because you don't just want my opinions. So Thomas from Nitro, I thought that's probably the most appropriate one. It's really tough. Poor Ben Affleck. He wasn't even making a game. Jonathan Evans, he's a great friend, great designer, and I don't want to pronounce Mobius that many times, but that's a very, very excellent way of describing how hard it is, how complicated it is, and how difficult it is to manage a team. Dugan, I don't know, maybe making games is comforting like a pillow, but sad and made of pixels. I guess that might be it. Rob, he's an amazing, his own words are like a cut-price Jeff Minter, but he provided that as a visual metaphor for how hard it is to make games. And even the big guys get it wrong. It's not just us indies. You know, I think that's Rainbow Six Siege, an N64 era baseball game. And FIFA, I think it's FIFA. So seriously, like before you make a game, you have to think it through, and that's what we do. That's what we did with Lazarus. We make games professionally. We try and be sensible about these things. So what was our first goal? It wasn't to make venerable actors cry. It was to make something that's financially rewarding. And I don't know how many people get up here and say, oh, we're indies and we want to make money, but we do, because if we don't make money, we don't get to make more games. It's as simple as that. So the first thing was that we had to figure out our audience, and that, you pick one. You don't have to find one. You just pick one and then aim things at it. So Steam is kind of our broad audience. We want everyone to play it, or to be able to play it, as many people as possible, including Nicolas Cage. It'd be great if he was a fan. And an example of one way of doing that is games like Half-Life, which when it came out, it was a good-looking game, but it performed really well on a massive range of technology, of PCs, and looking at Lazarus, we wanted to make sure this is something that's not going to burn your rig out when you're playing it, but we have to still make it appealing, obviously. We need it to be easy to get to the fun part, or at least understand where the fun's going to be. So anyone from your gran to Drake could have fun with it. Wii Sports being an absolutely perfect example of how obvious fun is in those games. Tetris, another great example. You get to the fun very quickly in that game, and then you just have that fun over and over and over. Doodle Jump, Super Mario, arguably Katamari Damacy. All great examples of games that did a really great job of making sure people you kind of just look at it and you go, I get that. I understand if I'm going to have fun and how that fun will be had. And that's really important in reaching your audience. You've got to make it easy to make. This might be a bit old for some people in the audience, judging by the age range. Daikatana, team made up of industry experts who all worked on FPS games that sold millions, and then they still made a bad FPS game. It's easy to do. More recently, I love No Man's Sky. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was, no one's going to argue that it was a little overambitious, but genuinely I love that game. I play it way too much. And all of this kind of led to the idea that, we want it technologically not very demanding. We want a lot of people to be able to play it and that sort of thing. So it kind of led us towards, free to play, or at least being free, and us wanting to make money means free to play, was the sensible route to go for it. We are going to be doing this games development thing on Lazarus a lot. We're going to be iterating over and over and over and over and over, and so it has to be creatively satisfying. One of the things that we do is we like taking old games and putting a new twist on them. Hardlines and Tango Fiesta both did that, we think, pretty well. And it's got to appeal to the team, because we're going to be spending a lot of time on this, but also Chris Bratt and Ollie Bennett, because they were in the photo that I found. And you've got to stand out. I went to see Kinky Boots the other day, and I thought, well, this is brilliant. Originally, this was going to be a picture of RuPaul, because it's kind of like everything she exemplifies. I thought Kinky Boots, the whole thing's about finding your niche as a struggling business, etc., etc. So also go and see Kinky Boots. It's great. The third goal is it's got to be meaningfully instructive. I struggled with that one. We need to learn things from this. It's only valid if we learn things and get better at making games. With multiplayer, we did with Tango Fiesta, we learned the hard way how hard it is to do multiplayer well, and that's something we'd like to try and attempt to fix. But why? Again, 4 people, MMO, that seems kind of stupid. But people are basically social animals. We are just fundamentally, we like being in groups, we like talking, communicating, sharing experiences, and sharing stories, having stories to tell. Stories that, even if it's about you getting smacked in the face, it's a good story, and you're able to share it, and that's what multiplayer brings to the table. So we were pretty set on that. We also wanted to redouble our efforts on early access. So this is an example of an early access review. It's a bit of a hot topic right now with the reviews on Steam, which was a bit, it's honest, but it's quite brutal. One of life regrets. I mean, that's up there. But early access for Tango Fiesta wasn't right, it turns out. But we wanted to make sure that the game that we are making now, Lazarus, is. So that kind of informed some of the decisions that we were making. This is an example of us responding to the community and trying to say, well, hey, we fixed a lot of the stuff that you didn't like, and maybe you could check it out. Notice that they didn't check it out, and it's still a negative review, and fine, whatevs, we don't care. Because now early access reviews don't actually count towards your score. Yay! And basically, we're in the top 100, if 98 or something, of games that benefited from that move, which basically proves that, yeah, early access probably wasn't great for Tango Fiesta, but it doesn't mean it's not good for other games. And we wanted to build a community. That was the only one I could find. But we didn't want to just do early access. Early access is like a thing on Steam. We wanted to go even earlier, even harder. And how do we build a game that you can genuinely go and play within like a couple of months of us starting development and see where the fun might be and help us build that community and help us like make the game better. So all of that sort of points to our game, Lazarus. So all of these things meant that, no, this isn't an 80s reference, but it's my favorite GIF. It's an action game because we like action games. Like, that was absolute. It's got to be like fun from simple things. You know, you can't have like be designing overly complex systems. It just needs to be something simple and enjoyable. And the multiplayer, like bringing that chaos that you can only get from like a shared world and all this kind of thing, and lots of players mucking about in them. And simple rules that kind of interact in interesting ways and hopefully end up with kind of that hot topic word, emergent gameplay. I didn't find one for emergent that wasn't penises, so I'm sorry. This might point most people to games like Rogue, which is this, but for anyone who's a bit younger, probably this. These are roguelikes. These are games where all the rule sets combine in really interesting ways. Every time you die, they get reset, and as Aoife kindly said at the beginning, that's kind of a core part of what we want to do with Lazarus. But so far, so Realm of the Mad God, really. That is kind of ticking all those boxes. And there's nothing wrong. There's only one Realm of the Mad God. You know, we could probably make something that competes or is better or slightly worse, and we'd both do well in in Steam and with our target audience. But we were going to sci-fi it up a little bit. But that's not really enough, is it? Like a great man once said, the obvious objective of video games is to entertain people by surprising them with new experiences. So how do we bring something new to it? Like, all of the things that we've said are, you know, twists on existing kind of established stuff. How do we bring something new? Without celebrity endorsement and weird GIFs like this one, which is my second favorite. I just like watching that. Let's watch it again. Creepy. Brilliant. I love it. Anyway, how do we do that? Well, scale. Games with scale, and I don't mean like tiny person, giant robot. I mean like scale of environment, scale of your interactions with that environment. Persistence. Pugs too, but persistence mostly. He doesn't get out there. And permanence. These are all things that are, you know, in video games we're uniquely able to kind of play around with, but it hasn't really been done in proper, meaningful ways yet. So that's something that we wanted to do. And there's my boy. I'm talking about the rodent. He's Groundhog Day. That was like a bit of an epiphany for us. Was, hang on, if every time you die in a roguelike, you get to repeat, but it's slightly different. What if we kind of extended that over a period of time where you begin to build more meaningful kind of experiences, and that's where we got the idea of this kind of weekly reset. Now onto the how. That's all the kind of the whys and the whats. How? So you might have heard of Worlds Adrift by our friends at Bossa. They're a very talented, very awesome team. I don't know if you've seen this. This is not like peek over your neighbor's fence sim. It is Meta World by Hello VR. And for anyone who's following the sort of route of this rambly talk, Spatial OS is kind of the thing, the secret sauce. It's a piece of technology. It's actually a platform kind of a thing made by the wonderful lot at Improbable. Are they going to wave? There we go. That's not all of them. There's loads of them. Yeah, Spatial OS is kind of like this platform that allows a little team like us to make a game with all those cool things that we thought would be interesting. And this isn't a sales pitch, so I'm just going to ramble a bit more while you read the official blurb. And, you know, this was so that, you know, we kind of got the thumbs up. This is the official word on what Spatial OS does, and I'll sort of translate it in a minute. You know, lots of big words. Complex behavior. Thousands of servers. The cloud, that one's a bit scary, but it's fine because it works. Yeah, so basically, we're making a game on Spatial OS. We like to actually say that we're making a game like a Spatial OS game, like it's more important than that. The closest thing that we've been able to kind of communicate the advantages is that, like, you imagine an MMO like World of Warcraft, but you remove all of the instancing, and you remove everything that stops people playing together at once. And you've got the kind of thing that Spatial OS offers, and what hopefully Lazarus offers. compares himself to World of Warcraft. What on earth? So the idea is that wouldn't be very good, though, on its own. You can't just remove those things from World of Warcraft and any standard MMO, because then you're just left with the idea with whoever gets to the dungeon first gets to be the coolest guy on the server or whatever, and you can tell I don't play much of it, but you kind of understand my point. So you actually have to think about things in a genuinely new way, and that means you can genuinely make new kinds of games, and that's like, oh my god, with 4 people, this is amazing. Like, this is what we're trying to do. And that's why we kind of make Spatial OS games, in a way. So how does that happen for us as a small team? So you don't reinvent the wheel. That's like lesson number 1. We're using Unity. We're not going to write a 3D renderer. We're using Spatial OS. We're not going to write netcode. You know, like that's just like simple stuff. You don't do everything. You've got to pick your battles. You know, you can't do everything at once with the team our size. You've got to specialize on one thing and do it really, really well. And then when you think you've got that nailed, you reduce it down to its barest component, and you just do that with a little bit of personal flair. And then you're sort of cooking with, I don't know, gas, milk, indie, something. Tubby Sonic here. He was the best kind of image that I could summon that summarizes what I'm trying to say. Like, we're a small team. We're built to be nimble and fast and arguably blue. Blue and white, actually, I suppose it is. Okay, I've just got that. So if we go against that, we're just going to become unhealthy and unable to do the thing we're built to do. You know, Tubby Sonic, he's eaten too many donuts. He can't run. What good's Sonic if he can't run? What good are we if we like bite off too much and like shirk from our very singular method of making games? So Spatial OS. It's one thing having a technology, it's another making sure you all understand as players, I don't mean like you individually right here, but as players, what it does, and making sure that the game underlines and really kind of goes a bit over the top about how we show the things that make it new and interesting. We want the player to basically be like completely overwhelmed by all the cool things that we are doing that other games don't, and that games haven't been able to do until now. So that's where we dreamt up this idea of the Lazarus event, the weekly wipe. If you have persistence forever, it just becomes a bit of a mess. Or, you know, for us to manage that would be a bit of a mess. For players coming in like 3 months down the line, that would be a bit of a mess. If you've got, you know, people building buildings and waging war, and you just kind of come into the middle of it and everything's persistent, you're like, I don't understand what's going on. So having like a start, a beginning, a middle, and an end is like a really sensible way of like framing that. And also by having a slightly longer kind of period, it's not going to reset every time you die, but every week-ish, you get to appreciate the things that are persistent and the way they affect the gameplay from moment to moment. So this event is basically like, we want to kind of layer it. We want, at its basic level, a big thing to come in and just destroy everything and reset, and you have to try and, you know, figure out a better way of winning next week. For some people, it's just going to be kind of like craziness in the background that maybe affects their moment-to-moment gameplay. And then for some people, maybe it's something they've like orchestrated. Maybe we give the players the power to kind of wipe the server. This is all stuff that we don't know whether we're going to do, but it's what we're aiming at. And so just a quick little bit on our journey. 3 months ago, we started making this, and it's in alpha right now. It's on its 3rd alpha publicly right now. We're in week 1. We just kind of used a lot of asset store stuff, which is fantastic. I'm just going to kind of skip through. Week 5, that's when we kind of announced, I believe, our intentions, and when Rock, Paper, Shotgun said it was intriguing. I'm going to stick with that. We started building out player ships and space stations for them to build and, you know, have persistence and permanence and ownership. We have asteroids. The idea is basically one-liner. It's an MMO asteroids, but it's so much more than that now. But week 8, it was very much that. We started mucking around with, you know, making that core experience really good fun, lots of lovely feedback and little maneuvers that you can do, lots and lots of asteroids and particle effects to make it look nice, loot drops, things like that. Everyone likes loot. More special effects, more buildings. And then we started looking at what we could do with, you know, trying to promote it and get people like yourselves to come and play. Computer Game podcast is excellent. You should check it out. And we did a branded skin for them. We also have our own personal skin because we're egotistical like that. And yeah, we're now at the point where we're expanding to kind of the kinds of things that you'd expect. different kinds of player ships, lots of skins to unlock, and fun to be had, hopefully. So this is where this video is not going to work, which is fine. Even when the beta goes wrong and people can't log on, they seem to find fun. The theme tune that you heard on the trailer, someone basically has uploaded a YouTube video of them just making the window dance to the theme tune, and it's like, that's awesome. Like initially I was like, I don't know if that is awesome, but it actually, it's brilliant. It's kind of reassuring us that people want to have fun with this, even when technically the game won't let them. So as soon as we let them, they'll have even more fun, right? It's building the community. It's that whole thing. Weird numbers, because it's fun to talk about big numbers. Lots of asteroids created on the second beta. This was over a period of about 3 days. Thanks, Andrew. Lots and lots and lots of asteroids. This is what happens when you have an area the size of North Korea filled with asteroids and just let people shoot them and let them bump into each other. And yeah, about six, nearly 7 days of playtime from 40 to 50 players, which is pretty good over 3 days, I think, especially out of nowhere. So yeah, kind of the fun bit, and we're wrapping up and getting to the Q&A, hopefully. We're going to give you stuff, because we're nice. We like doing that. We used to bring cake to these things. I don't know if anyone has been a regular, but we used to bring cake. Not anymore. If you go to playlazarus.com, now, or just at all, you'll register. And if you register before the game ends its beta, you'll get this exclusive skin, the Vertex. If you use the code EGX2016, then you will get the EGX skin. We thought, why not? We'll have a bit of fun with it. So that'll work. We know when people have signed up and whether they've used the code, so you'll get that in the game. And that's pretty much it, except to say that there's a bunch more Steam keys. Please go and claim them and have fun. And I think it's time for questions. And also, Andrew's going to hop up and hopefully log into the game live and just play around in the background while I answer questions. I have no idea how long I've been talking for. I'm sorry if it's overrun. There's a mic there. Cool. There's got to be some questions. There's 4 people making an MMO, and I've hardly addressed how. If you go up to the mic, otherwise I'm definitely not going to be able to hear you. I saw another hand over there. We're English, we can queue, right?
Yeah, so you touched on you wanted to have some meaningful reason for the game to reset, and I'm sure you've had some ideas internally. How much are you listening to your beta players, and do you have a favorite wacky suggestion that's come out of that?
Yeah, we're very active with all that stuff. We've got a little dedicated subreddit where we try and engage, at least at this early level, with everyone who's playing. We've had tons and tons of brilliant feedback. Nobody's really addressed the wipe yet, because it doesn't happen in the game right now, because until we've done a full 5 or 6 day thing, it's not really relevant to them, I guess. But I fully expect there to be lots of weird ideas. We've got some ideas of the fiction. It's one of the nice things to have, and we've not put too much effort into it at this stage. Because, as you're kind of suggesting, the community might want something different, and that's what we want to do. We want to provide this really polished, fun little bit of game, and then we'll see where they take us with it. So.
Yeah. So I noticed. Wow, echo. So I tried to go to the website you announced just now, and the NEC Wi-Fi blocked it.
Oh no.
What I was going to ask. So you're making what sounds like a colossal construction in a small number of months, with an enormous amount of technology pre-built for you. You've got Unity, you've got Spatial OS and everything. What I was wondering was, with this construction of a tiny little Everest on top of a huge continent, what things actually take time? Where's your effort getting spent? What's easy? What's difficult?
That's good questions. So what it means is that we're able to concentrate on the things that hopefully we are good at, which is make the core gameplay really fun, polishing stuff up. A lot of the stuff you see in here is placeholder, but player controls, moment-to-moment interactions, and figure out what it is that's going to keep people coming back to play. Why, how are people going to build those stories that we talked about, and what are they going to talk about when they share them? And I guess just broadly, it's not a shortcut, this tech. You still have to understand it. And so the slowest part for us has been kind of getting used to, I mentioned a creative kind of shift in the way you have to think about the games that you can make with Spatial OS. There's a similar shift mentally with the technological side, essentially, with the way that you program and the way that you approach the different tasks. And while it makes it all way easier than if you were to do it from scratch, like just insanely, obviously, it's still like a bit of an adjustment. But within the last, so it's like from 0 to here in literally 3 months of work. And I feel like in the last couple of weeks, maybe even the last full month, we've basically been up to our usual speed of development, which is like a really good sign, right? So we're like, it's just like we're only using Unity again, right? But with this amazing thing in there as well. So, yeah, thank you.
You said Groundhog Day was like one of your main inspirations, and obviously Asteroids is another. Did you have any other like big inspirations for the game?
It's a good question. So, yes and no. So Lazarus, some people might remember from about 4 years ago, we brought as a little iPad shooter. We were going to try and make basically a 2-stick shooter for touch screens, and we put it on hold when we signed Tango Fiesta, weirdly, and never got the chance to come back to it. We love the name, we love some of the art, and so that's what we've kind of gone back to. Everything else kind of got dropped out, if you like. But the original inspirations for those were very much like mid-90s, well, early and mid-90s kind of Japanese shmups, proper like Capcom stuff. Nothing too crazy hardcore, but UN Squadron, things like that. Gradius, there's a little bit of Gradius in Vic Viper in the kind of the standard ship, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Thank you. I don't know if there's any more questions. There's one more question here. Please do.
So if you've got it resetting every week, have you got plans to stop people min-maxing the game so by the time the reset comes, they're going to know what's the quickest path to get to your upgrades fastest, etc.?
That's a very, very insightful question. So, yes and no. Partly that will just come from like general balancing and things like that. But what we want to try and do is hit on the right mix of interesting randomized elements that mean that you might know the quickest way to get to the tech you want, but by the time you have, maybe you should have gone for some other tech. So along your upgrade path, maybe you've specialized to mobility rather than offense, and actually you needed offense this week or whatever. So like it's a balancing act, but it's more about trying to find the kind of the systems that interlock and keep it feeling fresh. And part of that is actually having other players, right? There's going to be some form of PvP in there, which we've not quite settled on, but yeah, hopefully that keeps it fresh too.
So considering the weekly recap, what does the player get to keep throughout the entire thing?
Don't ask me that. What does the player get to keep? So not everything is like, that's an absolute answer, that's a fact. You won't keep everything. You'll definitely keep some things, and hopefully they'll be exciting. And I know that's a really annoying and vague thing, but you're all horrible, and look what happened to Sean Murray when he promised things. On a serious note, so we've been focusing on like the core loop and figuring out how to bring players back, and that's like the next step, right? You get the wipe, what happens? And honestly, we'll mess it up several times. We'll do the live beta, we'll wipe stuff, and people will complain. And we've got to find that balance, because it's supposed to be slightly frustrating. It's supposed to make you go, what if I'd chosen differently? And it gives you that opportunity to choose differently, right? So broadly, we're thinking if you've unlocked access to upgrades, you will no longer have to do the work to unlock the access, but you still have to earn let's say the credits to apply them to your ship or something like that. So there's definitely a persistence to, funnily enough, persistence to your upgrades and your progression, but it won't be everything. Oh, and if you've bought any credits, they will definitely carry over. We're not going to wipe people's bank accounts. That's just silly.
I was wondering, is there any future plans on like cash shop items that's introduced into this game?
Cash?
Yeah.
Oh, like real world money?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Boo, free to play, etc. Yeah, we're going to try and be very fair about it. Like, broadly speaking, we're not going to have pay to win because it's not really a PvP game in the end anyway. And it will focus around kind of your standard stuff, like boosters to XP for short amounts of time. Maybe there'll be some exclusive like ship skins or something like that. But broadly, we only want it to save people time getting like in-game currency rather than like getting access to stuff that other players don't. Like if you're playing for free and you're paying, you should really have access to the same game, right? So
mostly cosmetic focused.
Yes, yeah, mostly cosmetic stuff. I think we can say that.
Just another one. Would there be also like a global ranking system within the actual?
Yes.
Sure.
So right now we've got like this is a live. So that whoever's at number one, that was since our last beta, like overnight, last night basically. Someone's competing for that. So some players will just get a massive kick out of trying to be the number one, and we want to tie some rewards to that. But we also want to support like players who are committed to the other systems, like upgrading or exploring or whatever it may be. So hopefully there's lots of ways that you can kind of be the best at what you enjoy about the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was just wondering, with the development team, are they all like full stack, or do some of them focus just on Unity and some just on the Spatial OS stuff?
So we kind of, with just the four of us, we kind of all have to do everything and then some. So, like while we're building everything in Unity together, like Andrew, the coder Andrew, who's playing very well, he's had to like really get deep into the Spatial OS tech. But I would say that it doesn't really affect anyone else. I mean, no, wait, it affects me. I'm the designer, so I have to think about it. But yeah, from a kind of day-to-day point of view, like art and music, they don't have to worry in that sense. To them, it's just we're doing stuff in Unity. So that's cool.
Bit of a strange question, but when playing an MMO, what do you personally enjoy?
It's a very interesting question. Does Destiny count as an MMO? No, it doesn't, does it? Personally, I'm not that bothered about like winning in fights against other people. I really like exploring, which is a bit lame. That's why I like No Man's Sky so much. And weirdly, how I don't mind that it isn't an MMO, despite claims. I really like finding new things and like, I don't know about maybe naming them and stuff, but like the idea that I'm the first person here or I get here under my own steam, that's kind of cool to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think might be out of questions. So. Oh. Trifle's t-shirt as well, so.
Very small question. Right. 3 months, 4 people, make an entire game. Can I just ask what sort of hours you were working each day?
That's a very astute question, and I'm very proud to say entirely normal ones, and I'll qualify that, normal for any other industry other than games. We do basically a 9:30 to 6 p.m. day. This might be more information than you want, and we have an hour and a half break at lunch because we feel that that's enough to actually go and do something else and like break the day in half. And that's basically been it. I'd be lying if we didn't say there were a few late nights as we were fixing some of the bugs each time we launch a beta, but that's very much like a couple of hours. And then last night when I hadn't got the trailer ready, I guess. But broadly speaking, we try really hard not to be stupid about it because it's damaging and whatnot. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Quick before they ask more.
Okay, so as well as the Steam key, I'm going to have to get you to send me the entire contents of your GIF folder, if that's all right.
Roger that.
Okay, well, thank you to Andrew, and Steve. If you guys, well, speaking of No Man's Sky, we've actually got a panel on 65 Days of Static. We're going to be here talking about the music of No Man's Sky. And we've got a Forza Horizon panel, a Starbound panel, all that stuff coming up later today. So check it out if you're around. And thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.